It's always a pleasure to be at IIT Gandhinagar. So what I'm going to do is in the next 15-20 minutes, first I will say a few things, and maybe after that we can have some question answers, right? So first of all, what is really the problem that we are trying to solve? Right? If we can generalize or abstract out this problem of counseling, so say, what should I take? Which IIT, which course, which program, 4-year, 5-year, BTech, MS, etc., etc. What exactly is the issue? The issue really is that you have some goals in mind, and those goals could be medium-term goals. What will I do 5 years from now, 6 years from now, 10 years from now? And those could be long-term goals. What would I want to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now, right? And the problem today is, what decision should I take so that I can reach towards that goal? If I'm not able to match that goal, maybe at least go towards that goal, right? And problem really is, we don't know what decision of today is going to impact us in future, in what ways, and whether we are going to reach that goal or not, right? Some of these goals are pretty obvious. I mean, this going from a decision to the goal is pretty obvious, right? If you tell me that you are interested in doing research in physics and you really are excited about it, passionate about it, then it's very simple, take up physics, right? If you tell me that you want to be a hacker, you want to be a software developer, you want to be a computer security expert, a lot of students want to be that, then it's very obvious, take up computer science, right? So if you have some goals in mind, certain kinds of goals lend themselves to a relatively easier decision, okay? Of course, even in this, there is this issue of how honest you are about your goals, okay? I think one of the biggest reason of confusion that I find in my interaction with students and parents is that people are not aware of their own goals, or they are downright dishonest about their goals. And unless you are honest about your goals, your decision will always be confusing. And I'll give you an example. Every year I get almost like 100 emails or 200 emails from various people saying, can you help me in deciding this or that? And I've been thinking, last 15 years, if I collect all these 2,000 emails, it would be a very interesting book on, how people think. The first email from a lot of people is going to be, my rank is 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 or whatever it is, right? My passion is computer science, I'm deeply interested, I know coding, I know Facebook, I know this, I know that, and I want to do computer science, right? What are the options for me? So, I don't know why this question is being asked of me, because you could go to anywhere else and see the last year's closing ranks. If you have 2,000 rank, then ISM Dhanbad is pretty much the only place you're going to get, or maybe some new IITs or something like that, right? So this question to me is, I don't know why it's being asked of me, right? So I will tell them, these are the 3-4 places which, based on past history, appears like you can get, right? Then they will send another email which will say, but we have heard that this is not a good program, right? Then I will reply to that and saying, okay, in that case, you could probably think about IIT Hyderabad, IIT Delhi, BITS Pilani, these are great places, and you can do computer science in any of these 3 places. And then the next question is going to be, but sir, how about electronics and communication at this place? Right? I mean, you just told me that you're passionate about computer science, right? And within 2 email exchanges, you're asking me, what about ECE? And this is extremely common. I mean, even in the lunch, I talk to many people, this is like, they will start with, I want to do computer science, and within 2 minutes, they will say, but what about ECE, right? But what about mechanical? What about this? What about that? Should we look at, right? It means that either you're not sure about your goals, right? Or you're downright lying about your goals. And I'll tell you what your real goal is in a few minutes, right? And long time ago, I read this book by Jack Welch, Winning. It's a very, very nice book, and one of the few management kind books that I've read, right? It has a chapter on honesty. And I mean, I've reread that chapter multiple times because every time I read that chapter, it really tells me why people are not able to take decisions, right? So it says, why do you believe that an organization of the kind GE ought to be honest? It has to be a culture across all the employees, across all offices, that people have to be honest. Why is it important? And the first obvious answer is that if you are not honest and this dishonesty is revealed to outside world, if media talks about it, then you are going to be in deep trouble. You will lose your business, you will lose this, you will lose that, right? And this guy, Jack Welch, then say, no, that's not the issue, okay? Honesty is more important than just what media will say or what others will say, right? And then he explains that, look, when I have this yearly meeting about how to fix budgets, I call all this top leadership of GE in my office and we have this full day meeting. If each one of them were to give me an honest reply to my questions, what is the market condition for this product? What is the market condition for that product? How much money is going to be spent if we do more advertising here, right? If I can get honest answers to these questions, then that meeting can be over in 1 hour. Okay. However, if I don't get honest answers, if I feel that you are unnecessarily promoting your own division, right, then I have to ask you 10,000 other questions to find out what really is the honest answer between this, right? And the meeting is going to take the whole day, wasting everybody's time, and yet you are not convinced whether at the end of the day you have taken a right decision or not, whether you got the honest information or not. And therefore, it says that one of the biggest problem in why people are not able to take decisions is they are not honest with themselves. Right? Do you really know what your goal is? And you are willing to articulate that goal, right? Don't consider this goal is politically incorrect, therefore I shouldn't say it, right? Now, there is another very major goal, a lot of people talk about it. I want to be in management, right? Absolutely fantastic goal. Say whatever your goal is, I don't want to criticize that goal because everybody is different. Everybody can have their own goals and, management is a perfectly legitimate business, right? But I'm going to ask you, why management? And why do you want to be in IIT if your goal is to be in management? Right? At least think that much, right? So the answer that I will get is, when I was in school, I was a school leader in this, I was captain of my hockey team, and I think I did very well, and I think I'm going to do very well in management. Fair enough. No issues with that, right? But why IIT? Well, even that has an answer, that I think IIT is going to give me a good broad education, which is going to be helpful. I'm going to get access to IIT network, which is going to be useful when I do management, and therefore IIT, right? Till now, it's absolutely fine, right? Then I will say, okay, if you want to be doing management, then in your 4 years at IIT, you need to develop your skills of leadership. You need to develop your, and that will come about if you do a lot of extracurricular. Of course, don't completely get F grades in your courses. Do something about your studies. But other than those studies, you should really be doing a lot of student activities, a lot of extracurricular activities, a lot of leadership stuff. Try to learn about the society as much as possible. Do all your electives in humanities and things like that, right? And to be able to do that better, you should take up admission in a less competitive branch. So, for example, if you come to Kanpur, computer science is a very, very competitive branch. Every week you will have 2 assignments of like 1,000 lines of code. You are going to work for like day in and day out. And the chances that you are going to be able to find time for student activities is going to be much less. So even if you are all India 1, but if your goal is to be management, then take up biology, take up chemistry, take up something else which is much less competitive. I'm not saying that those are less important branches. They're just less competitive. I mean, for whatever reason in this society feels, chemistry doesn't attract top 100 people, right? Now, as soon as I will say, if you are interested in MBA, take up less competitive branches. immediately the question is going to be, what if I change my mind? Okay. Now, if you think about it, this question is completely nonsensical question. Okay. What if you change your mind can also be said by All India 1. Nobody who's joining computer science ever says, what if I change my mind? And there can be no solution to this problem of what if I change my mind. If you change your mind, we will see what can be done at that time. You can learn new subjects anytime. You can change your careers anytime. You may find a little bit of difficulty. You may have to pick up a few things here and there. Changing mind is not a problem. But if you can change your mind from management to computer science, you can also change your mind from management to chemistry. You can also change your mind from management to biology, right? So saying that what if I change my mind is a completely ridiculous question. Again, it shows that you are really not honest about your goals. Okay. So my feeling is that, if you are honest about your goals, you're not going to have so much difficulty in deciding what you want to do today. And of course, if we look at the most common goal, okay, I want to be rich, right? Again, it's an absolutely fine goal. I mean, I am not the kind of guy who will say being rich is somehow bad. However, we live in this Indian society where being rich is considered to be bad, right? People don't automatically say, I want to be rich and I want to do things which will make money and so on and so forth, right? So there are all kinds of code words that we use. What are the scope for this branch? What are the opportunities at the end of 4 years? And of course, some people will directly ask, what are the placements for this, right? But come out and say, I want to be rich. I want to do something today. I want to take a decision that will make me rich. Again, honesty is important here. Because when you say, what are the placements? How is that going to make you rich? It's not going to make you rich, right? Now, the problem again is that what is the meaning of being rich, right? Now, there are two kinds of definitions that I hear. One is, at the end of my 4 years, I don't want to be dependent on my parents. If possible, I may even like to help them out. I want to have enough salary, enough job that I don't have to share my apartment with 4 other guys. I want to have my own independent apartment. In the very first month's salary, I should be able to buy a motorcycle. Maybe within 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, I want to buy a car. I should be able to have a couple of vacations every year. I want to be able to get married in 3, 4 years and maybe at that time buy my own house, right? So that's one definition of richness, right? All my responsibilities and all my requirements and needs, I should be able to satisfy with a bit of luxury. Okay. The second definition of richness is, I just want as much money in my bank balance as possible. Right? Now, how many of you would like to have richness as a goal of type 1 that I talked about? You should be able to meet all your requirements with a bit of luxury thrown in. Can the students only raise hands? Okay, a lot of people. But as I said, absolutely fair. I mean, being rich is no problem. I also want to be rich. Right? How many of you would say, I want to be of the rich of the second kind, where I just care about, how much more money can I make? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, much less. Only, 3, 4 people. Right? Now, if I were to tell you that, so if the richness is the goal, and the goal is that you should be able to meet all your requirements, all your responsibilities, with a bit of luxury thrown in, then it does not matter what discipline you choose. Right? Of course, even in the second case, it wouldn't matter. Right? In the sense that, even if you just look at placement as one parameter, right? More than 70% of our students are going to get jobs in every discipline which will meet all the things that we talked about. And you should hope that whichever discipline you are going to join, you are going to be in the top 70% or top 80%, right? You're not going to, if you're in the bottom 10, 20% in any discipline, including computer science, is bad anyway, right? You know, last year in July, I was at Pan IIT near San Francisco, and this gentleman, I'm trying to remember his name, who started Sun Microsystems, uh, he was one of the speakers, right? And he was talking about things very similar to that we are discussing today. He said, what does richness mean? He says, I want a house of my own in Palo Alto area, which is one of the most expensive areas, right? I want to have 2 cars at least in my driveway, and this house should be at least 3 bedroom, right? And I should be able to do a couple of foreign vacations. I should have enough money in the bank for taking care of any emergency, right? He says, what should be your salary so that as a young B.Tech from a nearby, you know, either University of California or Stanford or something, what should be your salary so that you can meet all these things within a year of your graduation, right? He said that's about $80,000 to $90,000 a year, which is roughly the starting salary of everybody in that area, right? He says once you have reached that level, right? Now you can always talk about, I want to have a summer home in Italy, I want to have a plane parked in, you know, San Francisco airport so that I can fly in anywhere. So there is no limit to what you can spend, right? But there must be some limit beyond which you should say, I'm living comfortably, and now I want to see how will I enjoy life. I want to enjoy my work, right? So the point is that limit, if you set to something reasonable, as I said, all your responsibilities, all your requirements are met with a bit of luxury thrown in. If that is your limit, then actually it makes no difference whatsoever which discipline you take, right? However, you know, now the bigger problem is, how do I really go from the current decision making process to being rich? How do I know what discipline should I take, what IIT should I study in so that I can be rich, right? And there is really nobody who can predict the future, right? Of course, in this country, everybody predicts the future, right? You write this question on Quora, there will be 10,000 responses, everybody predicting your future, right? Why is it that I can't predict this future where everybody else in the country appears to be able to predict that future, right? Because let's see what kind of answers others will give you, right? They will say, if you take up IIT Bombay Computer Science, your placement is going to be better, right? So let's analyze this statement. If you take IIT Bombay Computer Science, your placement is going to be better, right? First of all, is this statement true? I have seen numbers of IIT Bombay and IIT Kanpur of certain years, and I'm convinced that the difference between the two institutes is close to 0. In certain parameters, in that particular year where I actually had data from 2 IITs, IIT Kanpur was better in many respects and IIT Bombay was better in many respects, right? So statistics is something that you can look at from different angles and make your own conclusions and decisions, right? Even if there is a difference of 1%, right? That's all the difference you will find between the 2 IITs, right? Is that difference of 1% such a strong indicator of performance over the next 50 years? Placement is only talking about what the first month's salary of a few people this year was, right? You're going to graduate 4 years from now. And after that, you're going to have a career which will span at least 50 years, right? You're going to graduate at the age of 21, 22, right? And even today, people retire at the age of 70 normally, right? By the time you are 70, the retirement age will probably be 80. So we're talking about at least looking at a future of 50 to 60 years. Now, one way to look at future is to look at the past. If we look at today's jobs, what are the hot favorite jobs of today? Did they exist 50 years ago? If they didn't exist 50 years ago, why are we believing that jobs which are hot today are going to remain hot 50 years from now? Right? The jobs today which are hot, what kind of discipline requirement they have 50 years ago, nobody could have predicted. And the same way, the jobs which are going to be hot 50 years from now, whether they are going to be jobs requiring knowledge of biology, whether they will require knowledge of physics, whether they will require knowledge of computer science, it's impossible to predict today. Right? If somebody claims Quora, and as I said, millions of people claim on Quora that they can predict, all powers to them. They should probably run a betting circle, they will win a lot of money. But I don't predict. Okay. So we have found two problems in placement. One is, placement is not an indication of next 50 years, it's only an indication of first month salary. Secondly, you can never get placement data which is accurate. Okay. Nobody, neither IIT Bombay, nor IIT Kanpur, nor IIT Gandhinagar will ever tell you the complete data of placement. Okay. Thirdly, you're not going to listen to that data anyway if it is not, if it is not matching your own perceptions of this data. Right? I'll give you an example. I was just talking about such a thing in my own institute a couple of weeks ago. And somebody asked me a question, what about this other institute with which you compete in Delhi, right? In terms of placement, they say placement is great and all that, right? So I told this guy that, I know the official data of that institute and I know the official data of my institute, and I can tell you the median income in my institute is more than double of the median income of that institute, right? Double we are talking about. We are not talking about 5% more or 10% more, right? He says, I don't believe you. Right? So the point is that, this placement data, I can show you the data and you're not going to believe me anyway, right? So you're not going to get good quality data. If you get good quality data, you're not going to believe that data. And it is in any case, not a reflective of what will happen 50 years from now. Okay. And another thing, which people here who are from science background will understand. Now, there is a statement that we make whenever we talk to, so there is this course on how do you do research in most institutes. Right? One of the things that we explain people before they do research is correlation is not causation. And this is a very, very important statement that we want all our students to understand. Correlation is not causation. Okay? It means that if you find two quantities correlated, it does not mean that one is the cause and the other is effect. Okay? And a very simple example of this is, every living being is going to be dead. So is life a cause of death? Right? So there is a strong correlation, in fact correlation of 1 between life and death, right? But life is not a cause of death, right? Or there is a strong correlation in age of husband and wife. Right? Both are approximately equal. Right? So is my age a cause of my wife's age, or is my wife's age a cause of my age? Neither, right? My age is because my parents decided on one day to have a baby, right? It has nothing to do with my wife's age, right? So there is a strong correlation, but there is no causation. So even if you believe that placement data has some correlation with future performance or whatever, I don't believe that, but if you believe that, even that does not tell you that your own son or daughter is going to be benefiting from this data, because it's not a causal relationship. So even if we say something like IIT Bombay Computer Science is great and it's going to result in good life in future, even if that correlation is true, let's assume that is true, right? Even that does not tell you that your son will fit into that and your son will have a good life if he or she gets IIT Bombay Computer Science, right? So this focus on money as a goal is fine. I mean, as a philosophy, I have absolutely no problem who says I want to make more money. I also want to make more money, The problem with making money is that there is absolutely no way you can take a decision today that this is going to result in more money, right? I think the other reason why this decision becomes very difficult in most families is, unfortunately, parents have a very different way of looking at life, and the kids have a very different way of looking at life. In fact, if you see, I don't know how the experience was in the morning, but in such meetings, and I've attended enough of these meetings, students typically keep quiet. All the questions are asked by parents as if they are going to join IIT, right? Just as I said last week, we had this thing in IIIT Delhi, and every question is coming from parents. So after about 5-10 questions, we said, I'm not going to answer any question from parents, and only students must ask questions. You know what was happening? And I was noticing this. This parent scribbling a question on this piece of paper, giving it to his son and say, ask this question. Right? I mean, it's not a laughable matter. Most of the suicides that are happening in Kota, the person responsible are parents. Right? You are putting too much of pressure on your ward. You may think that I'm giving so much liberty to my kids, but if your son cannot even ask a question in this open environment, then what liberty have you given that son? So the students have their own network where they find information. They will go to their coaching classes and ask their teachers, because typically the parents will not go there, right? Students will ask their own friends in 12th class, their school friends, right? Students will ask their seniors who last year went to IITs. Students will, and they get pretty good information about what they want to do, right? The only problem is that so the students also will say, and this we have checked again and again in Kanpur, you talk to the students 6 months after they have joined, when parents are nowhere in the picture, what they want to be is completely different from what they were saying 6 months ago. Right? 1 year we did this experiment in Kanpur. At the end of first year, we had this whole day session where we said we are going to get the best person from electrical engineering department to talk about how great is electrical engineering, the best person from mathematics, the best person from physics, and so on and so forth. Half an hour talks each from all the 11, 12 departments, and then we'll ask the students to do branch change. Okay. That year, people left computer science, electrical engineering, and joined all other departments. This is what they want to do. Okay. And I think the parents must understand this. On the other hand, I'm not, of course, I'm generalizing, and I'm sure many of you would not agree that you are like that, and I don't intend to say that you are like that, but bragging rights are very important for parents. Okay. What will I tell my neighbor? What will I tell my relatives? That's extremely important. And bragging rights, till at least you get married. Right? So not just bragging rights of where you're studying, but what job you get. If you get Google, that's a huge bragging right. I mean, in Kanpur, we have seen people, mental wrecks. Computer science guy, fantastic performance, and he wants to take up a job which is paying only 10 lakh rupees. Right? I mean, to me, 10 lakh rupee job for an 18-year, 22-year is fantastic job, right? And he says, I'm not going to call up my parents for at least 1 month, because they will put so much of pressure. Your friends are getting 20, 30, 40 lakhs. You are doing a 10 lakh job. So he says, what I'm going to do is, for next 2-3 weeks, I'll keep telling my parents, I'm not getting a job, I'm not getting a job, I'm not getting a job. And eventually, one day they will say, Yaar, we are getting worried, take up any job whatsoever. And next day, I'm going to tell him I got a 10 lakh job. Right? Now, again, we may laugh about it, but look at the pressure this guy is in. Right? So I think, even though the parents here may believe that they have let their kids free, I would encourage you to seriously not take too much interest in counseling process. They know what is best for them. And if they make a mistake, it's not going to be end of the world. Okay. Most IITs, most programs are going to give them a good life. And it is their life. It's their choice. And if they take that decision, they're not going to come to you and complain about it. They're going to make good out of it. They're not going to feel depressed. They're not going to feel, because their decision. On the other hand, if you say, do this, they're going to be constantly complaining about it if somehow they don't like that. And it's not good for family relations either. So I think I'm going to stop here and take a few questions. There must be something that that you enjoy, right? It's entirely possible that you can't find your passion right now, which is absolutely fine. But I think you should work harder at this, right? Talk to as many people as possible, not just your seniors who are already in IITs. Maybe like you have come here. Talk to faculty members of different departments here. Okay? It just might happen that you start seeing some interesting stuff in some discipline. And of course, at the end of the day, if you still say, I don't know what I'm interested in, then yes, just pick up the IIT which is going to give you the best life. Right? Or wherever you're going to enjoy your 4 years, that's very important. Then, as basically I'm saying that pick institute over the discipline if you're not sure about the discipline.
Sir, what is the difference between pursuing research from IISERs or UMDAE than pursuing research from IITs?
Pursuing what?
Research.
Research in
career.
IISERs.
Yes, sir.
I think they are very different kinds of institutions. IISERs are more focused about science, and IITs are somewhat more focused about engineering. So IITs also have good science departments, but the focus is really engineering. Right? So again, I'm not going to generalize all IITs and say every IIT does things in a similar way. I'm more familiar with Kanpur, so I will tell you, in Kanpur, even if you want to do physics, you will have to do, programming and digital circuits and electronics and thermodynamics and material of science and properties of materials and so on and so forth, right? These are all engineering subjects. On the other hand, if you join IISERs and you want to do physics, these non-physics courses will be maths, chemistry, biology, and all that, right? So, do you want an engineering flavor to your physics, or do you want science flavor to your physics?
Sir, as of now I want science flavor more.
Yeah, so IISERs. In fact, if you can get in ISC, even better.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, you mentioned in your blog that economics in IIT is one of the hottest courses now. So why should I mean, you would say that IIT is a technical institution providing scientific education. Why would I pursue economics even though it's a BSc degree from IIT? And
Well,
how do I know after studying 2 years of PCM that I suddenly want to switch to economics?
no, you studying 4 years of last.
After studying 2 years of PCM, I mean, with no interaction with humanities, how do I know that I really want to do economics at this level?
So, I mean, as I said earlier, it's a very difficult question to say, how do I know what I like? It's extremely difficult, and I've really no answer. I can only suggest that you talk to different people. Generally, people like something because they had some role model in their neighborhood or family or something, or they talk to somebody and just get impressed. I mean, I can tell you when I was a computer science BTech student in IIT Kanpur long time ago, and we were all applying for this higher education in US, right? In those days, the hot area was theory of computation, right? Everybody applying from Kanpur would write this statement of purpose where he will say, he just loves this theory of computation thing and he wants to eventually solve P is equal to NP, right? And I wrote my statement of purpose where I said, I'm interested in networks, right? Because I had this course by Dr. Gautam Barua, which was like, I just said, wow, And I talked to him and he said, yes, this is the thing, right? It so turned out that within few years, by the time I was graduating with a PhD, networks was a very hot area and theory of computation was not a hot area, right? So I got job very easily. My friends who went for this hot area supposedly didn't get jobs so easily. So, so the point is that I knew my passion because I had done this one course with one person who just opened my eyes. Right? So sometimes this kind of thing happens. If it has not happened with you, it's okay. And for that reason, if you don't want to do economics, that's also okay.
No, to be more specific, like say I do economics in St. Stephen's and economics in IIT, what would be the
What the
difference?
difference between St. Stephen's and IIT would be, again, one is that you are going to get a lot of engineering background. Today, when you solve any problem in the world, you need multidisciplinary approach, which IITs are going to give you. It's a 4-year program as opposed to 3-year program there. If you do 3-year, BSc Economics from Stephens followed by MSc from Delhi School of Economics, then you are being focusing too much on economics, which is good if you want to really go deep into research and all that. We are solving real life problem, you need multidisciplinary approach, which IITs will give you.
For computer science, what is difference from between double IT, means IIT, and triple IT Hyderabad?
Okay. See, there are a couple of differences I find between IIIT Hyderabad or Delhi. We have pretty much similar syllabus, and IITs on the other hand. One is, see, each one of us want to give you a chance to change branch at the end of first year. Pretty much all IITs have this, all IIITs have this, and so on. And therefore, the first year program is common across disciplines, right? What that means for an IIT is that I really cannot do too much of computer science in the first year, right? Because I have to do something which is relevant to all disciplines, okay? So invariably, if you look at IIT curriculum, it will be like math, physics, chemistry, one course on programming, which we think is useful for all disciplines, one course on digital circuits, which we think is useful for everybody, and so on and so forth, a couple of humanities courses, etc. Right? On the other hand, if you look at IIIT Delhi or IIIT Hyderabad, our common courses, we are only having computer science and ECE, both of us, right? So our common courses can be 2 computer science courses and 2, ECE courses. So the student does more computer science and ECE in the first year. So there is a huge amount of complaint that you will get from first year students in IIT saying, hey, I'm just repeating what I did in JEE, right? And real stuff starts after first year, right? So there are many people who would feel very frustrated at the end of first year saying, what college have I joined? It happens in IITs. It doesn't happen as much in IIITs. But at the end of the day, in IITs you're going to get an education which has more diversity than you're going to get in IIIT. Because IIIT, there is nobody in mechanical engineering, there is nobody in physics, there is nobody in many other subjects, right? So that diversity is also important. So it's a trade-off. You will always find trade-offs, and that's the real issue that you're deciding today, that you have trade-offs between these two things. Every institute has its own strengths and weaknesses, and you decide what strengths you prefer, what value you put to those strengths, and decide accordingly. Now, as I said, the strength is really in terms of, our focus is narrow and therefore very deep. So the research output that, or the kind of things that we can do with the students, IITs cannot, but, so there is diversity has its own strength, right? And focus has its own strength. So there is essentially depth versus breadth, right? Both have their strength. I mean, so some people will call, I want to be really deep into, I just want to be machine learning guy, right? So IIIT Delhi or IIIT Hyderabad will allow you to do maybe 5 courses in machine learning in your curriculum, right? In IITs, I doubt you can do 5 courses in a BTech curriculum in a single very narrow area.
So, I have a confusion that I am getting an older IIT and like chemical branch, and I want to go in computer science branch, and I am getting at newer IITs. So I was thinking if I take another major in another major of computer science with chemical branch in older IITs, I would have more opportunities. So, sir, is my perception correct, or is the decision correct, or should I take admission into newer IITs and take computer science?
See, I always believe that, yes, whatever you want to study, you study that, right? If so, as you know, we have discussed earlier, the very few people in 12th class who really know what they like, right? If you are one of them, you are a lucky one. Don't lose that, right? If you have figured out that computer science is really your story, right? Follow it up. Right? And this minor thing, I don't know how much does it work on what it's going to give you. So there are institutes like Gandhinagar and Bombay where if you want to do a computer science minor, you will be able to do a minor with 3-4 courses or whatever the curriculum is, right? I'm not sure whether you can do more than that easily without affecting your schedule, and classroom conflicts and timetable conflicts will come in and so on, right? There are some places, I won't name them, but they're doing minor is a challenge because right from the first course, these classroom conflicts will start happening. They will put up on their website that we are so flexible, you can do anything under the sun. But in real life, so you should ask people who are studying there, right? So if you look at Kharagpur or Kanpur or Madras, I'm not going to be able to give you answers which are local to those places, right? So talk to their students and see whether the flexibility that they advertise on the website is really available, right? So there are two-part answer. One is, are you really going to do minor, or is just on the website for flexibility sake? Secondly, is minor going to be sufficient for your kind of interest?
So I am talking about taking another major in it, like take another year and take another major in computer science.
No, saying drop this year and
No. Take like I am doing like if I take chemical and I take another major in computer science, like in IIT Gandhinagar there is a program, and also in IIT Kanpur also there is a program that 4 year I can for 4 years I can take this and after 5 semesters I will have an option to choose.
okay, double major, yes. So you
Yeah,
can
double
take,
major.
you can spend 5 years and get,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
So, I mean, I'm not aware of the details of the Gandhinagar program, but Kanpur program I'm very familiar with. See, the problem is going to be this. To be able to get a double major in computer science in IIT Kanpur, you will need to have a CGP or CPI, we call it, of 9.0 at least, which is not an easy thing to get. Okay. And secondly, once you join IIT Kanpur, and for first 5 semesters you're only doing chemical engineering, of course there's extra courses you're doing, uh, you know, I don't know how much motivation you will have to really do a second major. What we have seen in the last 2-3 years of running this double major program there is a whole lot of people who in the first semester say, I want to do this. At the end of 4 semesters, there's like, I just want to get out of this place, right? So, and then 5 years down the road, you say, oh my God, I wish I had done computer science, right? So my feeling is that, you are the best judge of what kind of, self-confidence you have about these things. But I wouldn't want to take those chances, and I would just take up a full-fledged computer science program today. I have no idea about IIIT Bangalore. Right? I'm currently, for last 1 year, working in IIIT Delhi, and IIIT Delhi was like almost mentored by IIIT Hyderabad, and I go to IIIT Hyderabad like every other month. So I know about this place. I haven't been to IIIT Bangalore for maybe about 10 years. So I don't want to comment on them, at least not after they've started this 5-year integrated program.
I'm not interested in the coding, but people say you must have to interest in the coding because it must in the future. So what can be done for what is happen I if I don't learn the coding?
If you don't learn coding, I mean, if you're doing computer science, you have to learn coding, right?
I'm
And,
not interested in coding.
pardon?
I'm not interested in coding, so I
So don't
choose
take computer
such kinds
science.
of branches that said no coding, like mechanical, chemical, EC.
Well, EC at least will, many of the engineering branches will at least require you to write small programs. And if you do know coding skills, you can do a lot more things in even those engineering things. But yes, you can, you can do engineering without doing coding, right? A little bit of coding that you may need to do once in a while, that much you will be able to learn, right? So coding is a very, very important skill today, right? As I said, you can do a lot more if you know coding, but it's not a skill which is like if you don't know, you're going to die, right? So it's okay, just avoid computer science, because in computer science, if you can't write lots of code, you are not going to pass courses.
I, I have a question about this single degree versus dual degree. As I generally read on Quora and other stuff that dual degree is not preferred. Does that mean that the higher qualification is not preferred by the students?
4 year versus 5 years. See,
That's
the
right.
dual degree is a very good program. So I'll tell you the pros and cons as I look at it. Being able to, so today, I always advise my students that you have to think about at least a master's degree, right? Being from IIT has certain advantages, but 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, if you had a master's degree, it would help. Okay. Dual degree allows you to do that master's degree in 1 year in a place which you are very comfortable with faculty members with whom you are comfortable with, you know everything, and it's like it goes 1 year goes via, right? So overall, the program is fantastic. Right? On the other hand, the issue really is, a 12th class student who is standing up here and saying, I don't know between computer science and mechanical engineering, what should I take? We are saying that not only you should take computer science, but you should also promise that 4 years from down the road, you're going to do research in computer science, right? I mean, that is a problem, okay? So now different people have different takes on this, right? That if I'm getting a program which is going to do 5 years, both BTech and MTech, it's fantastic. I'm saving 1 year. I don't have to give gate. I don't have to, worry about admission and so on, right? So in that sense, great. But you're committing to something that you know very little about. And that's the negative part. So whether negative part bothers you or not, that's up to you.
Sir, is it better to do IIT with the discipline of my second choice or an IIT with my favorite or an NIT with my favorite discipline?
Discipline is absolutely important if you know your choice. Okay. If you don't know your choice, then pick up the IIT that you enjoy.
Does it matter that I do from IIT or NITs? Does it make any difference that I do from IIT or NIT?
If you know what you want to study, then pick up the best institute for that subject. Okay.
Hello, sir. I would like to know about engineering physics and what does it deals with?
You want to know about?
Engineering physics.
Engineering physics?
Yes.
Okay. So engineering physics is a program offered by many IITs, particularly Bombay, Madras, I think even Delhi, many others, right? The idea is that you will do more of the applied stuff. So if you look at the physics program of Kanpur, which is just MSc physics or BSc physics, right? It's more of theoretical physics, as well as even when it is experimental, it is really deep down physics, right? We're not going to talk about semiconductors. We're not going to talk about how communication devices work. We're not going to talk about, on the other hand, if you look at engineering physics, invariably there will be a lot more of, electronics and lasers and, some of the applied stuff, right? So if you want to really do research, then it's probably better to do a pure program. If you want to take up a job at the end, then it's probably better to take up an applied.
Yeah, one last question.
Sir, my son needs to go for an aeronautical engineering master's, MTech. So
You want to go for?
Aeronautical engineering.
Aeronautical engineering, okay.
So you want to do MTech in aeronautical engineering. His goal is thinking since last number of years for that. So we are just confused whether to go for graduation like BTech with mechanical or electrical, because someone told if you go to with mechanicals, then you need to go with turbine engines and all those things. You will study all those things in that mechanical part. Whereas in electrical, you might be learning radar system, navigation system, how the plane operates. So if you want to pursue MTech in aeronautical engineering, then which will be the easier thing for him, either mechanical or electrical for the masters? Because I think 30-40% might be covered if you go with mechanical for masters in aeronautical, then 30-40% of BTech will be covered there, or 30-40% of electrical will go with. So we are just confused in all those things.
But why not do BTech in aerospace itself?
So we thought that, but most of the people told us that if you go with a specialization in the first degree, that is BTech degree, then the scope will be much smaller at upper part of the life. So if you do want to do BTech, then you do a broader spectrum, like you do BTech with mechanical or electrical, then the spectrum will be broad at the end of the life, and then you can do masters in either of these two. So we are just confused that mechanical is a nearer part to aeronautical, or electrical is a nearer part to aeronautical at the master's level.
No, I would still not answer that question. And I would still insist, see, if you know what you want to do, then do it right now, okay? Now, typically what happens is, if a student comes to me and says, I really don't know where my interest lies, right? Then I would say, do a program which is broader in nature. As you said, mechanical is broader than aerospace. Yes, I agree with that, right? So if somebody comes up and says, should I do instrumentation? I say, if you are doing instrumentation because you're not getting anything else, don't do instrumentation, because it's a very narrow program, right? Similarly, if somebody says, I'm trying to do aerospace because I'm not getting anything else, then I'll say, don't do this, it's a narrower program, right? However, if you say, I want to do aerospace 4 years from now, whether I should do electrical or mechanical today, I would say, no, you should do aerospace today then, right? If you know what you want to do it now.
The future and the job opportunities, the prospects, because ultimately masters is necessary at 5-10 years down the line. So better to take a broader spectrum
Why
at the
is it
BTech
better to
level.
take broader spectrum? If you know what you want to do it now. There is absolutely no advantage, because the broader spectrum, any good BTech program, whether it's IIT or even any university, would have a lot of broadening of horizon things, right? We will not only have mechanical engineering courses in an aerospace program, but also have psychology and philosophy and so on courses. So we'll give you enough broadening of horizons. We'll give you physics, we'll give you maths, we'll give you chemistry, we'll give you biology, right? So there is enough broadening of horizon happening even in aerospace, right? So it's not that you are actually doing a very narrow program. The only thing is the discipline you are narrowing a little bit, right? So if you know what discipline you are interested in, go and do that discipline, is again what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I think we're done.
So you can find, if you have interest in computer science, if you in your 11th and 12th have done some coding, for example, if you think logically, if you analyze situations logically, you're good at problem solving, so you can guess that you're going to be good at computer science, right? But coding is really, I think, the key. If you are just doing homework assigned by your teacher, that's not good enough. I mean, if you're going beyond that and you really are passionate about just solving problems, right, then it indicates that you are very keen on computer science.
So that is it for Professor Sanghi's session. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. It was a pleasure having you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.